Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and I'm recording this from Surrey in the United Kingdom. This is my bi-weekly podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been making over the last couple of weeks, and that includes mostly knitting but also a bit of weaving, a bit of sewing and a bit of hand dyeing as well. You can find me on Instagram as a_little_crafting or on Ravelry as Ankiwoo. Today is the 16th of April and in the UK we've started coming out of our lockdown, so that we can start to do a few more things, including for me that's going climbing at our local climbing centre with my husband, and spending more time with other people outside, which is fantastic to be able to do. But I've still been able to fit in some crafts along the way. So without further ado, I'll start off with what I am wearing, and this was my favourite knit from 2020. This is the Jupiter Crop by Caitlin Hunter, who is also known as Boyland Knitworks. And this is knit out of one of my favourite yarns, which is Dererum Natura Ulysse, which is a sport weight non-superwash organic merino from France. You can buy it in the UK from different shops, including the one that I tend to buy from, which is Great British Yarns, but you can also order directly from Dererum Natura in France. Just be careful nowadays with the Brexit deal. We have to pay customs. I think it's over £130 worth of goods, so if you keep it below that you can actually get a reasonable price for the yarn, because you're getting it directly from the supplier. Just might take a bit longer to get to you than the UK. So this is knit out of Dererum Natura Ulysse, and the colourways are so the pink is Confiture de Rose, which essentially means rose jam. The blue is ciel, which means sky, the light blue. The pink is quartz. The white is poivre blanc, which is kind of a mottled white colour, and then the dark blue, which I've got in the background, is called Tempête, and it's a really dark blue, just to add some contrast to the colour work. I'll show you a bit there. So I am wearing this just with a t-shirt and some high-waisted trousers. I've got a long sleeve t-shirt on actually today just because it's a bit chilly outside, but I do often roll up the sleeves, so that's how it ends up looking. Yeah, this was a super quick knit. I think I knit it in a couple of weeks during the summer last year, and I absolutely loved knitting it. I might have to make myself another one, maybe with long sleeves. And I tend to wear this over dresses and things like that in the summer. It's great for the evenings, and I actually think I need to make myself some more more summery knits, just because I have so many winter ones and it gets around to spring and I go, I don't have any hand knit jumpers to wear because they're all too hot. So I might actually make a few more. I actually have a I think it's Anker's summer top in linen on the needles, which is by Petite Knits, that I need to pick up at some point. I didn't think it was worth knitting during the winter, but it will be a great top to have that I can wear in the summer, that's in linen, so it's in a really light weight yarn. So let's move on to what I've actually been making the last couple of weeks rather than what I made last year. So first of all, I will always have hats finished off, and the first one is one that I had started last episode, so 2 weeks ago, and that is the Simple Hat by Hannah Fettig, who is also known as Knitbot. This is in the Home and Away ebook, which I bought to make a couple of her sweaters, so it's quite good value actually. You get a whole load of patterns for the ebook, but it also includes this simple hat. It's just basic 1x1 rib and then stockinette and then decreases like you might expect for a hat, but it looks really nice overall. This yarn is leftovers from my Throwback cardigan, which I knit towards the end of last year. And that is called Eswick. It's the West Yorkshire Spinners Tweed colourway. And that was just what was left over from the colourwork that I had in the sweater. This is a very, very large hat, so it won't suit me at all, but it will serve its purpose in terms of my charity knitting. So this is probably going to be donated to Hats for the Homeless, so it will keep someone warm during the winter. And that is my first hat. And yeah, that was absolutely fine. Obviously it is just a really simple hat, so nothing especially to write home about, but it's a good pattern and I do like Hannah Fettig's style in general. The second one I have finished off is this lovely cabled beauty, and this is a free pattern by Tin Can Knits called the Antler Toque. And I absolutely love this pattern. I think it is a great beginner pattern for cables. I've actually filmed an episode in the last couple of weeks, or sorry, a video in the last couple of weeks that explains how to make cables and the way that I create cables using this hat pattern because it's such a good one. It is just a 4 stitches, but 2 stitches over one another cable repeat, and it's actually quite straightforward. But it looks fantastic. And this is in some leftover Dererum Natura Gilliatt, another of my favourite yarns, and it is in the colour Lagoon, which is lagoon in French. So yeah, you can see those lovely cables coming out there. And this is the type of yarn where it feels quite rough when you're knitting with it, but when you wash it, it softens up so well because it's organic merino, I guess. So it is a soft yarn. So yeah, really happy that that one is finished as well. And I have been on a bit of a cable kick this week. So I'm going to swiftly move on to my works in progress for knitting. And the first one of these is the Heartnut hat by Knox Mountain Knit Co. And this is one that I own already for myself, so I actually have a hat and cowl and socks that match in the same design set. And the Heartnut hat is a really interesting construction. I will pop a picture of my one just here so that you can see how it will end up looking. This one I am knitting in some leftovers of a coral colourway. I think it will probably have been called Coral, but it's by Giddy Yarns, who is a yarn dyer in the UK, and this is DK weight yarn. And let me see if I can show you, but so one of the things I really like about this hat is that it has a rolled brim, and that means that you get kind of this really nice edge and then the ribbing starts. So it still fits really nicely, but it's a little bit looser. And then here you can see the start of the lovely heart cable pattern. And it's a really enjoyable one to knit. I do love cables in general, so I enjoy them overall. I think they're really satisfying, and they're not actually as difficult as you expect them to be as a new knitter, which is what I found when I first started knitting as well. So yeah, I'm happily knitting away on this one. I only started it this morning, so that's not very much knitting actually done, but you know, it will go really quickly, I think. The needles I am using are 3.5mm for the larger needle and 3mm 3mm for the smaller needle. And I'm just knitting I'm knitting all my hats actually on my higher sharp interchangeable set, and this is a 16-inch cable that came with that. There we go. I have lost my stitch marker. That's fine. Make sure I remember where the beginning of the round is. And yeah, I do really love this coral colour. It's one that I tend to gravitate towards during the summer. And yeah, I've got a hat that is a Colourwork hat with this and a dark grey colour that I really like wearing in the winter. So yeah, there we go, finishing off some more leftovers for charity. And my 52-week challenge still continues. I think I have 15 hats at the moment. I will count them up when I've got 20 and do a dedicated episode just showing you all of the different designs that I've made, because I'm actually quite enjoying it. It's nice actually. A hat is not too much of an undertaking, so it feels quite easy to get done in a week, and it gives me a bit of a break from doing everything else. For example, the sweaters that I'm knitting and the kind of bigger projects that I'm going for. Although it of course slows them down because I have to knit a hat a week rather than being a monogamous knitter. So there we go, pros and cons. So let's talk about the other whips that I've got on my needles. And the next one is one that I hadn't actually started last time, but I had knit a swatch. And this is the Ingalls sweater by Caitlin Hunter again, who also designed this pattern. And it is a Colourwork yoke pattern. Yeah, it's knit out of Madeline Tosh DK Twist. The colours are the Red Woman, which is this gorgeous red Game of Thrones inspired colourway, and Paper, which is just a kind of off-white. And I started knitting this one on the Monday bank holiday after Easter, and cast it on and started to get really far and thought to myself, oh, this is great. And then what I realised is that in my eagerness to cast on the sweater, I had accidentally started knitting the wrong size. I am knitting the extra small size and I was knitting the extra small size. I don't know why I didn't check what size I was knitting. I'd just gone through the pattern, highlighted all of the smaller size and started knitting. So I spent a lot of the day knitting, and then what I ended up having to do was ripping back to the ribbing. And then what I did was I decreased from the ribbing outwards, because I actually think the neckline on the Ingalls sweater, the way that it's designed, is quite a wide one, and I'm not that keen on very wide necklines, just because I don't like the stuff that I'm wearing underneath my sweater to show there. I know it happens with my On the Grass sweater by Hoagie Locatelli, and I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, but basically I don't like what I'm wearing underneath to show on my shoulders, because the neckline's so wide that I don't really have a way of hiding it. So I thought I'd increase from the neckline, and then I wouldn't have to rip back the whole thing, which would have been devastating. But I have been knitting on this so much. So I'm going to show you where I am. I've basically done the whole yoke. So here you go. Hopefully you can see that really nicely. And I think I mentioned last time that I am omitting the eyelet details, so the lace sections which are in the pattern, and instead of knitting those, which I think would be probably just sort of above and below the Colourwork, I have opted to just knit plain stockinette instead on those rows, so that those eyelet details aren't there. But yeah, so it's looking really lovely. I don't know about the fit yet. Once I've separated for the sleeves, I'll try it on and see, and hopefully it'll be fine. But yeah, it's been very, very addictive, and I also love this yarn. However, once I've got past the yoke now, I am going to have to start doing either helical knitting or just changing skeins every row, because it is hand-dyed yarn. I thought it'd be okay for the yoke at the top, because it's Colourwork, so it's not going to show so much if there's any pooling. but I will need to alternate after that. So yeah, I love this Colourwork. It's going to be really nice. I get the feeling that by the time I finish it though, it will be really warm in the UK, and then I'll be saving it to wear in the winter. We shall see. How quickly can I knit the sweater, guys? Do you want, you know, have a bet? So yeah, considering I mean, at the point that I stopped the first time around, I was just about to start the Colourwork, so I had to rip back all of this section here. I don't think I've done too badly in sort of a week of knitting. Yeah, and yeah, I'm really pleased with the colour choices. Totally inspired by Eliza Trudd's version. I will link to that in the description. I was browsing patterns on Ravelry that would use this yarn, and I saw that and I thought I have to knit that Colourwork jumper. From now on, I think it is just stockinette. I don't think there's any more Colourwork detail on the sleeves or anything like that. So it's just going to be one of those, you know, TV knitting things or D&D knitting sweaters that I'll just get on with. In terms of needles, again, I'm using my Higher Sharp interchangeable set. I am knitting this on 3.25mm needles. So that's quite small for DK weight, but I always have to go down in needle sizes because I knit very, very loosely. So yeah, there we are. I think it's looking great. Super happy so far. Just that red, look at how amazing that red is. So yeah, really excited to have it done now, especially because I haven't got that excitement of the yoke to keep me going, whereas I mean, for example, this one, the reason I probably made it so quickly was because I was constantly changing colours, constantly doing more Colourwork, and it just spurred me on, whereas now I've got to do a sea of stockinette. But yeah, let's see how quickly I can get it done. Okay. I also actually need to wind up some more skeins if I'm going to alternate skeins. I have that much left of the ball that I've just been knitting with. Yeah, I might need to do that later on this afternoon. Okay, this is being kept in my lovely Antler and Acorn bag, which my husband bought me for Christmas, and I absolutely love it. It's the perfect size for a sweater. It's really sturdy, and it's got this lovely leather strap, which means that I can actually carry it around as a handbag and have my sweater in there as well. And I love the lion on the front. And there is, ooh, there's some more stuff on the back. So yeah, there's a parrot there. Ooh, parrot just there. Just a really great mix of colours. Very jungle oriented, but this colour, especially the one that she's used at the top, is absolutely my colour. Okay. So I'm pleased to have a project in my lovely project bag now. And it's not just sitting in the background of my episode in all its glory. There we go. So that is that one. As I've been, you know, obviously addicted to cables and Colourwork this week, I have also made a bit of progress on my Lightwood cowl by Jennifer Steingass, which is a Colourwork pattern with kind of a leaf detail, and it's supposed to be a cowl that you kind of wrap round and over. And I am knitting this in Cumbria fingering by the Fibre Company, which is the grey. It's that colour. Just a plain grey fingery weight yarn. And that's what the label looks like. Cumbria fingering, Fibre Co. And also shoppable Starker 6 in the Shocker London site colourway, and I do have the label for that. So that looks like that. And I mentioned before that I was having some trouble with the Crazy Zauber ball, So that is a really fine sock yarn alongside the Cumbria fingering. So I did swap to the Starker 6, which is a sport weight yarn. So I'm going to take this off, and this is how I am getting on. So yeah, you can actually see that quite clearly in terms of the colour work. It's not massively obvious because some of the colours are very, very close to the grey, but I quite like this kind of faded effect. I think the top ones, show you those, are probably the best. Sorry, it is a bit crumpled from being in my bag, but yeah, I've got a fair way along. And I was debating last time whether to make this a wraparound cowl or just a straight up and down cowl and join it in the middle. But we'll see how I get along and when I get bored of knitting it, basically. But again, because of the stranded colour work as well, I'm finding it really nice and quick to just keep going. It spurs me on and I get a few rows done and want to keep going, even though I might not have time, I might have to go to bed, but yeah, it just keeps me going. So yeah, that's where I am on that one. Yeah, it looks quite cool actually from a distance. Quite like the faded look. So yeah, I'm hoping to have a lot more of that done by next time I record. Don't think I've used up much of the yarn so far, so I might have quite a lot. I've got 2 skeins of the Cumbria fingering and just the 150 grams I think it is of the Chocoland Insight colourway for the Starker 6, which I really enjoy weaving with as well. So there we go, that is all I've been knitting this week. I also have a couple of pairs of socks on the needles actually, but I'm very, very much a sweater knitter. I will go from one sweater to another sweater to another sweater, and kind of dabble in everything else in between. I get so much joy out of finishing a sweater and being able to wear it and say, I made this. So it's just that much more satisfying to be able to make sweaters. And I definitely need more in my wardrobe. My plan is to at some point have no shop bought acrylic sweaters in there. And itchy nose because of the mohair. So yeah, there we are with works in progress. But obviously, being me, I've been doing other things. So I have been dyeing some more yarn. I realised the other day that I have now almost run out of mini skeins. I had, I think, 750 grams of mini skeins and I've dyed them all up. Or something like that. Is it that much? Maybe. Yeah, anyway, I've been sending some out to friends and passing them on, so they're not all gonna stay with me in my craft room. But I did a couple of things last week. One of them was, once again, trying to get the right colour of the elusive burnt orange, which I failed at. But I will show you what I did manage to create. So I had a look at my colour wheel and I saw that burnt orange is essentially between orange and red. So you mix red with orange and you should get burnt orange. I think the red that I've got is incredibly strong though. It's the Jacquard Scarlet. So I've ended up with a very, very red skein. When I first saw that it was looking incredibly red, what I did was I dumped a load of chestnut dye, also by Jacquard Acid Dyes, in there. So it does have like some significant variation. But I can see, to be honest, I think I'm getting closer. This looks really bright on camera, but it is much more subtle in person. And it is getting to the point of being burnt orange. I think if I put a lot less of the red in, it will just give it kind of that touch of red in the burnt orange. Yeah, the other thing that I always forget is that it looks different when it's dry. So it might look really, really bright when it's wet and in the dye pot, but when it dries off, it might look much more like I expected. However, I have ended up with a really lovely skein of yarn. This one is 75% merino, 25% nylon superwash yarn, so kind of your standard sock yarn. So I'm sure I'll make something with it, but it's still a fail in my book. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to create this colour. Basically, I just want a slightly more red version of that. Totally different. But we'll see. I'll keep trying and hopefully get there eventually. But yeah, this was another experiment. What I have done is cheated a little bit and actually ordered the burnt orange colour from Gilliatt Acid Dyes, because they do produce a burnt orange, and I just want to see what that colour looks like. And what I might do is add a bit of red, or even add a bit of blue to see how it looks if I adjust it slightly, because I don't really want to just, you know, use the dye and not do anything with it. That's not fun. The fun of it for me is playing around with mixing all the colours and seeing what comes out. Yeah, I mean, very nice skein. It is going to probably pull quite a bit because I did have that moment of adding the chestnut colour in. Let me see if you can... Okay, yeah, you can see there's a really dark line just at the end, which is going to be pretty obvious when I knit it. So yeah, experimenting. It's fun. It doesn't always get the results you want. The other thing that I did though, which I'm really happy about, was I made myself a gradient, a 5 mini skein gradient of yarn in kind of a little bit more of a pink version of my burgundy colour. So what I did was I had the dye pots, I put in some of that colourway, I created some dye stock solution, added some of that, a small amount of that into the water, put all of the skeins in first, and then took one out after all the dye had soaked up, added more, and then for each one I took the skein out again. I actually did that twice, so I did an initial lot of that, and then I thought it was they were all too close together. So I then did that again, but made sure there was a bit more of a difference between the quantities, so that it had a good enough difference so that you could tell that they weren't just all slight variations of the same colour. So I will show you the result of that, and that is this set of beauties. So I've attached them all together in the order so that I don't get confused. This one is the lightest one, and I should have skeined these up, shouldn't I? Come on, camera. There you go. So that's the lightest one, a very kind of ballet pink. Then this one actually doesn't look massively different from the first one, but you can tell in certain places it has a slightly darker pink to it. There you go. Then you've obviously got this one, which is the middle one, which starts to get much more kind of burgundy, pinky coloured. Then you've got this one, and then finally the one skein that still is quite tangled. I need to work out what's gone on there. This absolutely beautiful burgundy colour, and it is much more pink than the burgundy that I dyed before. Not sure exactly why that is, but I will double check it. I wrote down what I put in, so I can definitely reproduce this essentially. Which is great. Yeah, lovely gradient set there. Just twist it a bit. You can see all of the colours together. And this one is going to be for me. I don't know what I'm going to make out of it. Probably some sort of colour work with different sections in the different yarns. I'm not sure what base I'm going to use in terms of a base colour, but I really love the effect of doing this type of gradient dyeing. It really appeals to me, I think, and the fact that I was successful the first time I tried it just means that I want to keep doing it. Except I don't have 5 mini skeins left, so I can't do it again until I can get some more from yarnundye.net, and they're out of stock at the moment. So we'll see when I can do some more yarn dyeing with those. But yeah, love this so much. Just need to tidy up and skein them though now. And then yeah, I did add in another skein that I had dyed, I think a really light beige colour, just with some leftover yarn, and just create this one as well. Just really subtle kind of rose pink colour, which I really love. So yeah, I'm definitely discovering the colours that I find easiest to dye at the moment. So definitely blue, gold and burgundy, and kind of turquoise colours. Actually purple wasn't too bad either, I think that was fine. And green, that went okay. So I don't know what's going on with the burnt orange. It's just going to be that colour, one that I really like that I can't get dyed. But yeah, that is pretty much it for me. I haven't got any acquisitions this week. I did order some dyes just to add to my collection, and I might show you next episode my grandmother's spinning wheel, but I need to do a bit of work on it to get it to actually spin. So we'll see how that goes. I'm definitely learning a lot about how spinning wheels work. I've never done spinning before aside from on a drop spindle, and I find that very slow and a little bit fiddly, but I'm hoping that on a spinning wheel it will be different. Yeah, that is it. So I hope you have a lovely couple of weeks, and please do like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the content that I'm producing. I will put all of the links down below, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.